There were these scary predictions that this whole class of workforce was going away, but it was proven wrong, and now we need even more. MIT has come out with studies that actually countered all these predictions, and now you've got these frontier model founders that wrote some of these dystopian pieces. Now they're just reversing course. We need people engaged in most meaningful work that is a match for their aptitude. And I believe that AI will actually help us get there and make work less frustrating for people. And they may, as a result, want to work longer.
Hi, I'm Lauren Espin, and this is the Optimistic Outlook podcast. Few questions about artificial intelligence are generating more debate than its impact on the workforce. Will AI replace jobs, or will it create new opportunities? Joining this episode is Senator Ted Budd of North Carolina, who recently chaired a U.S. Senate hearing on artificial intelligence and the future of work. Among those invited to testify were Siemens' Brittany Ung and Dimitri Giannikopoulos, Chief Innovation Officer at RAD AI. Guests you may recognize from a recent episode of The Optimistic Outlook, where they explored how AI is transforming industries like healthcare and manufacturing. Today, that conversation continues from a policymaker's perspective. In this conversation with Anne Fairchild, CEO of Siemens USA, Senator Budd reflects on the testimony he heard, why some of the earliest predictions about AI and employment may have missed the mark, and how AI has the potential to augment, not replace, the workforce. Together, they explore the policies, partnerships, and innovations shaping America's AI future, and why they remain optimistic about the opportunities ahead. Let's dive in. Senator Budd, thank you for joining us today. At your hearing in March, you said something that really struck me, that if developed and deployed properly, AI enables Americans to make the best and most of themselves on a daily basis. And I love that framing. I shared it with my daughter last night, talking through this whole innovation cycle that we're in, because it really puts people, not technology, at the center. How do you see opportunities that AI presents for American workers and businesses, and what should we be watching out for?
Well, thanks again for having me on. AI's got the potential to help people be the absolute best version of themselves. And I know that Siemens, I know that here in the U.S. Senate, here in Congress, we want to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. But one of the things that's been a challenge in our country is we have a stagnant population growth. We have a retirement cliff. A lot of these very skilled trades. I mean, I live in rural North Carolina outside of Winston-Salem. And most of my neighbors are part of those skilled trades, but many of those folks are going to be retiring in the next few years. So you wonder, who's going to be replacing them. So I think the future workforce is going to be collaborating with AI, and I think that will help allow us to continue to be competitive. I remember in the early days, and artificial intelligence has been a term that's been, I think it was coined in the 1950s. Yeah. But really the father of modern AI, Jeffrey Hinton, he said, we're not going to need any more radiologists because of AI and its ability to analyze and understand images. But later he took that back, and we're seeing that we need even more radiologists because of AI. So I just really think that it's not replacing workers at all, but we're doing work that we otherwise wouldn't have done. So I think it's actually unlocking work and creating more opportunity. And it really kind of goes against this whole narrative of replacing workers.
Yeah, I agree. I have a family member who is a radiologist, and they've seen that transformation. And certainly there's more work, not less. And they need to hire more radiologists, not less.
So many case examples like that of, well, there was these big scary narratives of this whole sector of the economy and workforce is going away, but you're finding you actually need people even more. But the most important skill that I've told young folks and folks mid-career is the ability to learn new skills. Things have always been changing, but the pace of change is accelerating. But the ability to learn new skills, in this case, the ability for an individual to learn the skill to collaborate with this new technology of AI, is probably the winning skill for the future. I don't think people will be replaced. I think things will change. And I think the learning to collaborate with AI is the next new skill.
Which is a great segue to the next question about adoption in the United States. In some areas, we see it happening so fast, and in other areas, not so fast. I mean, I believe in your opening statement at that hearing, you raised a concern that while America leads in AI innovation, the U.S. has really been lagging in actually adopting AI, while we see China's top-down model really positioning it to diffuse AI quickly across the deep manufacturing base. We really believe that, in America, we don't have an innovation problem, but an adoption challenge. How are you thinking about Congress's role in accelerating that adoption across the industrial base? How do we avoid having overregulation that would suffocate innovation in America?
Well, part of it's the narrative from the industry of AI itself. When you have these utopian things that will never need workers and these big sectors are going away, I don't think that's helpful. It makes people resistant to it. But when you look, and then I meet with the Indian ambassador to the U.S. yesterday, and he's talking about the rapid adoption that a country of 1.4 billion people, and they are very fast adopters of this technology. They're collaborating with tools, the tools that we have here, uh, but a little more reluctance here. But some of it is really about lack of clarity when it when it comes to regulation. If you have like a 2x2 grid, you have clear, unclear, and then good
Hmm.
policy, bad
Hmm.
policy on the other side. We don't have really bad policy against it, but what we do have is a lack of clarity. And
Right.
you're seeing states that are jumping in, and rightfully so, with lack of clarity federally or
Right.
a reluctance or a disagreement to come up with good um, U.S. policy. States are going to jump in, which creates an unfortunate patchwork, which is it's very
Hmm.
hard for companies, whether it's the software AI companies or whether it's companies like Siemens that would want to adopt to deal with a 50 state patchwork. It's very frustrating. And so I think we need a light touch approach, but one that's very clear. It incentivizes folks to adopt it, to engage workforces with it, and make sure that we're not trying to hide from it federally. We want every incentive for people to have the full AI stack that's U.S. based. Make sure that the U.S. is leading in this technology, and that it's not being pushed off due to lack of clarity or bad policy to other countries that may not have the best, most secure software, and it could be a
Yeah.
security threat to our country. So we need clarity and we need good policy both, and that'll allow the best technology to be developed here, which is probably also the most secure.
Absolutely. It's been said that there are four main inputs of AI: talent, compute, energy, and data. And on data, you've taken real legislative action. Senator Kim and you recently introduced the bipartisan AI Ready Data Act, which we were proud to endorse. The federal government holds the world's largest collection of publicly available data, a fascinating statistic, including decades of engineering and operational data that really can't be found anywhere else. What can you tell us about that bill? What inspired it, and how would unlocking data strengthen American AI leadership?
Well, to folks that are concerned about the partisan nature of Washington D.C., and it is, but there's probably the most things that we actually get accomplished don't make a lot of the press, but they
Yeah.
are things that we can work on across the aisle. So, as he's a newer colleague that came in a year or two ago, and glad to work with Senator Kim from New Jersey on that. But models really are only as good as the data that comes into them. And the U.S. is a huge repository of data. That's things like labor data, weather data, health data, census data. I mean, there's just so much. You think of every agency and what they've been collecting for decades. And a lot of that is very useful information. It doesn't
Right.
need to be locked away. And if this can be set up in such a way where AI has access to it, it can become very useful to us to, um, uh, it can develop advanced manufacturing, healthcare models, weather modeling, water efficiency, resource efficiency. I just think there's so much there. So we want to make it open and available for our AI models to make them more competitive and unlock the economy. I think it's a huge unlock for economic growth in our country. We've worked with companies like Siemens. We've worked with Google. We've worked with Snorkel AI. We've even worked with the North Carolina Chamber on this. So we want a lot of input. You don't want your policy here in Washington, D.C. to be tone deaf to the people that are actually using it and implementing it. So I appreciate your help on this. And we think this will be great policy, which will help the American economy. Siemens, it talks about industrial AI, which is AI deployed in the physical world. But, we hear concerns that AI is, and we talked a little bit about this, that AI is going to replace workers. But like you've mentioned, that's not your view. That's not my view. But I've also heard that industrial AI actually helps us reshore work back here to the US, and that's going to create more jobs in the United States. So I'd love to hear a little more about your perspective as you lead Siemens.
It's a topic that we're passionate about. We are one of the largest industrial manufacturers operating in the United States with over 50,000 employees, 25 manufacturing sites, and we've invested $1 billion in U.S. manufacturing since 2021, and more to come. When we talk about industrial AI, we're really talking about something that we're deploying at our own facilities and for our customers. And we've talked about industrial AI. Defining that is very important for this conversation. Industrial AI really operates in a different environment than consumer AI, and we like to talk about that very openly. How to distinguish what the AI that people may encounter every day versus what's happening in industrial environments. In those environments, there are higher stakes, stricter reliability requirements, and real consequences when something goes wrong. And for workers in particular, industrial AI needs to be understandable, safe, and trustworthy. And to revitalize US industry, we need to ensure that our manufacturing facilities, as we're bringing more to the US, are digital first, really. Industrial AI is enabling that to make it economically viable to build things in America again. Our new facility, which we were proud to open last year in your state in Lexington, North Carolina, is a great example. A $220 million investment in local manufacturing, using smart technology and bringing over 500 jobs to Davidson County to build passenger rail. And filling manufacturing jobs in the United States, it is all dependent upon the workforce. Everything we talk about with industrial AI and bringing advanced manufacturing to the US only works if we have the trained workforce on the ground to operate those facilities. And at Siemens, we believe AI expands what is humanly possible. It's helping our workers to operate in a safer space, surrounded by fantastic state of the art technology. And what we're seeing across these new manufacturing builds in America is that people with little or no industrial experience can quickly develop the new skills that are needed, helping to fill nearly 500,000 jobs in your state alone in manufacturing today. And the countries that we believe that win this next era of manufacturing will be the ones that deploy AI most effectively in the real world and help to bridge the gap, to close the gap with skills in the workforce. Our lead in AI innovation across the US is very real. We see it now more than ever, but it needs to be adopted and deployed at scale. And American workers need to really be equipped to be able to use that.
Appreciate what you're doing on that front. That's incredibly important, including to North Carolina's economy.
North Carolina has been an incredible example of US manufacturing renaissance, which you have championed, and so many leaders across your state. This spring, we celebrated the opening of that facility, the manufacturing hub I mentioned in Lexington, but we also are a technology partner behind Jet Zero's Factory of the Future in Guilford County. Our electrification and automation business is headquartered for North America in Wendell, just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. And we've been there since the 1980s. The street is actually Siemens Road in Wendell, which I love. We've been there for many decades, but it is now also updated to be a state-of-the-art facility. And we have more than 400 suppliers also across your state. And that's just our footprint. The broader momentum across the state is really remarkable. What does the wave of advanced manufacturing investment mean for North Carolinians? And what is the state doing right that the rest of the country can really learn from?
These investments from companies like Siemens, it will bring a lot of jobs. You talked about what you're getting ready to do at Jet Zero. We saw a lot of your team there when we broke ground for that just over a week ago at PTI, the Greensboro Airport, which is really built for industrial manufacturing. A lot of that, which will be enabled by Siemens. But they're great jobs. They're great for our communities, and it's great for businesses. Just down the interstate 85, you've got Siemens Mobility there for rail cars. That's very key. It's all underpinned and supported by great policies. And look, while we go to Washington every week, and I appreciate my colleagues, but some of my heroes are those that go to Raleigh for us each and every week, the state legislators. They have other jobs. They're supposedly not full time, but they're more than full time in reality. They have come up probably since the 2010. They have developed
Mhm.
very business friendly policies. They've supported our community colleges. They've supported research in the state, and it's really built out great low tax, um, good regulations, great education, great workforce. I mean, from the tier one research institutions, PhD level work, all the way to the community colleges. But it's not just colleges and community colleges, it's also down K 12. We have a very collaborative approach. We listen to local workforce boards. We're very sensitive to the needs of local employers, and they want to begin dialing and tuning education so that when these young people graduate, they have very meaningful careers, and their skill sets are very relevant to what these employers need. So it's a great collaboration that we have, and I think we ask the question, whether it's to companies or whether it's to individuals that are in the workforce, what do you need to be successful? And we want to deliver that. So I think they've been very good at doing that over the past decade and a half, especially. But we realize that education. When I talk to companies that come through our office here in Washington, that are considering North Carolina, of course we want them there, and we realize that we're competitive. But education, workforce, and training are some of the biggest obstacles as well. So we have to keep working after that. We have to be one of the more rapid adopters of technology, including AI. And I think North Carolina is pretty good at that.
Yeah.
And we need to be focused on building careers, not just jobs, and also supporting apprenticeships. I think when I was in Lexington, another employer, which is neighboring to your rail car place down there, your manufacturing, was very big on apprenticeship. So I think that's something that they bring. I think that's something that Siemens will bring and other significant employers in the state.
It's been very exciting to see, personally and professionally, how North Carolina has evolved. You've always had that trend, I would say, for many decades, but what you're doing in North Carolina is very exciting as you move forward in this new era of innovation. And I would imagine in the conversations that you're having across the state, your constituents are probably raising concerns about AI. We hear the AI, the narrative developing around AI changing over the last couple of years, and people are concerned about jobs. We talked about that previously about what it means for their communities, their children, and their careers in the future. But innovation is clearly the lifeblood of the American economy. How do you talk to your constituents about these concerns? How do you address the concerns about AI and navigate that topic these days?
Well, I go back to the example of the radiologist I mentioned a few minutes ago and just say, look, there were these scary predictions that this whole class of workforce was going away, but it was proven wrong, and now we need even more. MIT has come out with studies that that actually countered all these predictions, and now you've got these frontier model founders that wrote some of these dystopian pieces about how workforce was going away and no need for work, and now they're just reversing course. They're saying that's just not the case. And I would just encourage folks to engage. But I look at this: are we going to do the same work with less people? Or are we going to be doing more work with the same people? And that's what I believe. We're going to be doing more work with the same people.
Yes.
But I think it's going to be less frustrating work. So it's actually going to be more meaningful. It's going to make the most of a person rather than uh, and work is not the enemy here. People, I mean, retirement is not the goal. Work is not the enemy. Um, we need people engaged in most meaningful work that is a match for their aptitude. And I believe that AI will actually help us get there and make work less frustrating for people. And they may, as a result, want to work longer. So I'm very encouraged about it. And we want to make, we want to make sure that people have the resources they need to understand it. I have the Pell Act, which was part of the Working Families Tax Cut. That's about short-term credentials to get into the workforce. Some of that training may need or may be AI so that people can just get a handle on the workforce,
Sure.
understand how to use these tools, get up to speed, and get into meaningful careers. We're seeing more preventative maintenance because of the predictive analytics of AI. We see HVAC technicians, more fiber going across the state, robotic technicians, plumbers, welders. There's a data center that's going in a previously somewhat lower income county in part of our state. With the data center coming in, there's going to have 3 to 500 ongoing high skilled, high paid maintenance workers that will be there. Those jobs were not there before. So I just think we need to make sure we understand and we have the right narrative about data and AI, that it's going to help us and it's not going to hurt us. So again, we need to get rid of those other narratives. Sure, we need to investigate fully, but I just think that we've got a great future ahead, especially with a lot of these specialized roles that are going to make the most of AI and technology and data.
When you see how industrial AI is being deployed, the workforce of the future is very different. But I do see, I mean, higher productivity, higher safety, working conditions, again, making jobs significantly more attractive for the next generation of workers with all of the state of the art technology and capabilities. And I think you use the term frustrating, reducing the frustration with jobs, the kind of tasks and difficult obstacles that had problems that had to be solved previously, we can use AI to make those a lot simpler and a lot more interesting, I think, for the workforce of the future, which is a fantastic move.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've asked a lot of questions about workforce in North Carolina, but at Siemens, how do you make sure that workers are at the center of the transformation and that they get the training and the upskilling that they need?
For Siemens, we've recognized for the last several years that workforce is so crucial to the future of this digital transformation and innovation, to enable, I think, this revolution that we're going through. We've committed as a company to train a conservative number, about 200,000 electricians and advanced manufacturing experts by the year 2030. And we believe that these expert roles will be needed to support the reindustrialization of America. And that number, Senator, is obviously a lot larger than our own workforce. We see this as a common good for American manufacturing, and then that we need to play. It's our obligation to be a part of a much larger ecosystem with our suppliers, our partners, our competitors, government, academia, labor, how to bring the workforce into this next generation by providing that type of training. In your state, we partner specifically with several different groups. So have partnerships with 38, I believe, academic and training institutions across the state. Wake Tech, which is very close to our Wendell operations, they have an apprenticeship for students pursuing mechanical and electrical engineering that we support. And we've recently launched Careers Electric through our Siemens Foundation, which is an initiative to train 25,000 electrical workers across the Carolinas. We believe that digital transformation works best when our workers, our employees are at the center. Welders, machinists, planners, engineers, before they are stepping out onto the factory floor, that they have state of the art AI enabled training and co pilots to help technicians diagnose issues faster and learn on the job how to operate machinery more safely, how to deploy the predictive maintenance assets that you mentioned earlier. And we embed this at the product level. When deploying industrial AI, the goal is for our workers to understand what the technology is actually doing. And we need operators who can interpret what the system is telling them, respond, override it, put up the appropriate guardrails. That human element is absolutely essential to be able to deploy this at scale. And this isn't just for our factory workers. We believe that AI enabled training is for every Siemens employee globally, from the shop floor to the back office, that we all, as part of a workforce of greater than 300,000 around the world, have access to AI tools and ongoing continuous learning resources in this space. And we think about upskilling as something that the entire ecosystem needs, not just those that are closest to the machines. Senator, we like to end these episodes by asking our guests about their optimistic outlook. And as a U.S. Senator, you have an incredible opportunity to influence and shape the way Americans think about innovation and competitiveness. What can you tell me about what you're most optimistic about in this new era of AI and industrial transformation?
But I look at this as the ultimate economic unlock, and I don't know what's beyond this. Perhaps AI plus quantum. I mean, there's something beyond AI, but I look at this as a tool to help unlock expanded prosperity. In this, that's across the economic spectrum, across the workforce, not for just a certain segment of the population. I think we'll have some improved outcomes. I think projects that aren't being done right now, opportunities that may be too complex to get started with, entrepreneurs that haven't started something, that may have a dream but think that it's maybe too hard or don't know where to get started. I think this will help more people get traction on those projects, big and small, at every level. And I think this is going to help make the most of people. I mentioned before, it's going to reduce some of the frustration of work and make work more meaningful. But work's not going away. And I think every challenge, every opportunity is a people challenge or a people opportunity. And I think AI is just one more of that. People have to be at the core of the strategy. I think it will be beneficial to people as well. I really think one of the things we're going to do is, health. Siemens is very involved in health as well.
Yeah.
But I think scientific discovery, material sciences, drug discovery, I just think they're going to help people learn faster and solve more problems more quickly. But AI can be it can be incredibly important technology for helping us overcome some of our demographic challenges that we're facing, whether that is skilled trades, as I mentioned before, that are starting to retire, or whether our population is fairly stagnant. And this can help augment the folks that are here and make the most of it. Yes, there's always challenges with any opportunity, but that's fine. We can overcome those. But this is something that we need to adopt and we need to engage in.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Optimistic Outlook. Be sure to tune in for more conversations with leaders shaping technology for a better tomorrow. Please subscribe to The Optimistic Outlook wherever you listen to your podcasts, and be sure to share the podcast with a friend or colleague.